Seems like everybody wants to talk Michigan, Ohio State. Well, it's not that week yet. We're going to get there, but everybody wants to talk Ohio State, Michigan. But we got a game for each team this week. How much it really matters, hey, we will see on Saturday. On paper, Michigan may be the tougher of the two, possibly. Well, we got Justin Rowe from Blue by 90 to help us break it down. Justin, how you doing today?
Doing well. It's it feels like we're all just counting down till November 26th. I know you just said it. Both Michigan and Ohio State have games this weekend. And not easy ones, I would say, like not super easy games. But it feels like we're just trending towards that game in Columbus, which I will be going to. I'm a little nervous. I don't know if I should wear just black or what down there.
Well, we got a whole week plus for you to figure that out. I don't know that I can help you out on that front. I'm sure you've got a lot of different people that can weigh in on that one. But you're right. It's not like either one of these teams is playing like a tune-up game. They're not playing a great team, but they're playing capable teams that they really shouldn't overlook. But I think we pretty much figured out by now that Ohio State and Michigan are just better than everybody else by quite a bit, and Penn State somewhere lost in the middle as being better than everybody else except for those two, and that's the Big Ten right now. So Michigan gets one of these teams from the West in Illinois, and it might have added, well, I definitely believe it would have added a whole lot more drama and anticipation for this game if Illinois would have taken care of business the last 2 weeks. They were in firm control of the Big Ten Western Division. Now they've tripped up against Sparty, and now against this last game, Purdue. Yes, they lost to Purdue last week. I haven't actually watched some of the game, but
after Chase Brown did the Heisman in the end zone, and then you lose to Purdue. That's a tough look.
So they scored the first touchdown. That must have been when he did the Heisman. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a good look. All right. So it's a mess over in the Big Ten Western Division. That's a whole other deal in terms of if Michigan beats Ohio State, who they're going to play. We don't know. We got 5 teams still up in the air with 2 weeks left. It's just crazy. All right. But in terms of this, we'll go back to the Nebraska game to a certain extent, just for one thing here that I think's on most people's minds concerning whether they're neutral people just kind of eyeing this matchup in 2 weeks or just the Michigan side of things, and that's throwing the ball downfield, deep passing shots, miss some more against Nebraska. How much should they feature that? Should they really try to work on that this week? That's kind of the big question.
Yeah, and the first thing I'll say to this, Jim Harbaugh does not care. if you ask him, why they aren't trying to pass the ball and be more balanced, he'll tell you he does not care at all how they do this. But it's going to be, they're going to do what they need to do, and right now that's run the ball, right? And so in order for them to win the football game, they're going to run the ball and they're going to do it really well. And so that's where Harbaugh says that he doesn't need to do anything else, and I agree with him. Would you want to have your quarterback maybe getting a rhythm a little bit more? Yes, and I will be looking towards that in this game against Illinois, who has a really good run defense. Do they try and get J.J. McCarthy in a rhythm? Do they try and get him to hit on those passes and feel confident? I think that's what I would like to see from J.J. McCarthy this week. I want him to feel confident going into that Ohio State game, that he can go into Columbus, he can make any throw out there. I know he knows that, but I think you want to see it in recent games here for him to feel that confidence into going into obviously what's going to be a crazy atmosphere.
Yeah, because if I'm playing Michigan, especially if I've got a capable defense, and I think Illinois is not anywhere close to their statistics. They play bad offenses, but I think they're really good on defense. I think they're legitimately one of the 15 to 25 best defenses in the country. Like, I think they're good. They're solid, especially their secondary is supposed to be really good. I would play Michigan. I would load up against the run thinking one of two things. Either Harbaugh's so stubborn, he's still going to try to run it. So he's going to play into our hands. And if we're not man enough to stop it anyway, then we're not going to stop it regardless. And then number two, they got to connect on those deep shots. So either our corners are good enough or they're going to keep missing some throws. What's the worst that can happen? They hit a 70-yard pass play and we're down 7-0. That's a very before we decide to adjust. So why not do that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, ultimately there have been most teams that have tried to sell out on the run against Michigan in the past few weeks. Michigan, the opponents just haven't been up there with Michigan, and so therefore Michigan continues to run the ball really well. But I go back to the Penn State game. They were trying to defend the run, and Michigan ran for 400 yards on and their secondary is a lot better than their front seven. But I do think, I think that's where Jim Harbaugh does. I can almost guarantee you that what he's going to say is sell out on the run. I'll take my front seven versus your front seven any day of the week. That's what he wants to do. He wants to play bully ball. And you know what? Especially when we're looking at a 29-degree high on Saturday, he's going to try and do that again. And I have to imagine that the weather is going to be similar down in Columbus, and that's a whole nother topic that we can talk about. But that is perfect for what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He wants it to be probably cold, wet, rainy. We're going to run it down your throat, and you guys are going to try and pass it. But I agree with you. I would until JJ can prove that he can do this consistently. We know he can do it. We know he has the arm. We know he's connected on some of these passes. But if I'm an opposing coach, I'm going to make him prove that he can do it consistently before I say, all right, now we gotta take that into consideration. And I would do exactly what you said.
There are certain teams that run it really well in the Big Ten. Penn State's got a good rushing attack. Ohio State, when they're healthy, good rushing attack. Minnesota, Mo Ibrahim. We can go through about 4 or 5 teams that I think are really legit in terms of solid offensive lines, really good backs. But it's like Michigan, when they are able to run it in the situation you just point out. Penn State, really good defense. I know the front seven's not quite as stout as the secondary. They're more of a pass defense team, but still, they're really good defensively. Iowa's about as good as it gets defensively. And when they can't stop it, they kind of contain it, but they don't stop it. That just makes me believe that Michigan is just taking this whole ground game to another level.
And would you ever have believed that they could possibly keep this going 2 years in a row with some improvement? I think we all saw it last year. Obviously, you had Hassan Haskins, and we knew Blake Corum was going to be great. But I don't know if we expected that Blake Corum was going to run it 30 times a game and go for 150 yards and 2 TDs every game. So it's really impressive. I think that I agree with you. That's where, I think that through the first 6 games, you kind of think, all right, they're going to do this against inferior opponents. And, then they open up the playbook as the season goes on, and then it's a different offense. But Jim Harbaugh, and I love Jim Harbaugh for this. I'll say this. The rest of college football is let's open it up. Let's throw the ball. We got to be, have this great passing attack and be able to hit, you watch Tennessee versus Bama and it's back and forth. Jim Harbaugh says, screw that. I'm going against the grain. We're going to run the ball like crazy. We're going to be way better at it than you are. And that's going to be our offense. And so the thing is, I think that JJ will still be able to do some things. It's not like like I just said, it's not like he can't make those passes. He's going to hit. He's 6 inches off. He's not 6 feet off. And so that's where I think he'll hit. But ultimately, I agree with you. I think that Michigan is a notch above just about anybody else in the country in that running game, and they love having that as their identity.
They won the Joe Moore Award last season, the offensive line. I saw the finalists, the list come out. They're back on that list. They should be. I think they're even better. They've got the All-American from Virginia. He may be an All-American this year. I don't know how exactly that gets evaluated, if those people actually watch the games and study.
No way. They don't watch the
There's
games,
no way they
Mark.
can, yeah. But based on reputation and how good their running game is, I think that guy's an All-American Oluwatimi.
Yeah, I agree with you. And something interesting too is Michigan. nobody's really talking about this, but Michigan has been dealing with some injuries on the offensive line and has continued to dominate still, even with that going on. I believe they've had either 6 or 7 different starting lineups throughout the season because Trente Jones has gone down, Carson Barnhart's gone down. They've had to shift some guys. Trevor Keegan's gone down. Ryan Hayes has been out for a little bit, so they've had to shift guys around, but it's still been a consistent piece for them. So I think that to me is what's been most impressive. And Olu Utimi is a guy where they had Andrew Bastardas last year. Unbelievable piece for Michigan. One of the most important pieces of that Michigan football team that went way under the radar the entire season. 6th-year senior captain that started as a walk-on. Now you put in Olu Utimu, who has probably more talent than Andrew Bastardas has, but he's been able to gel well with these guys and has really been that rock as they, have shuffled guys around between guards and they've got 6 guys that kind of rotate in those 5 spots. Olu's been the rock in the middle, and I think that's been a key to Michigan continuing the success on the ground.
So they've got this Illinois team coming up on Saturday who looks like another version of them, but with not as much talent.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because people were saying, before the last 2 games, everyone was looking at, this Illinois game against Michigan right before Ohio State, that's going to be an interesting game. And honestly, what I said, and I don't want to look past them, I'll knock on wood here a little bit, but what I said even then when they were running the ball, I said, they're really good, but they do everything that Michigan does, but Michigan does it better. Honestly, I feel like Michigan does still run the ball better, even though Chase Brown is very, very good. One thing to look at is him being questionable this week. If he's not in there, then I don't know how they move the ball on offense. But I think their rush defense has been their strength, of this team as a whole. Yes, they're good. I still, Mark, I'd take Michigan's front 7 any day of the week, I still think. So that's where, if we're playing a game of 9-minute drives and who can do that the most, I'm taking Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines as many times as I can.